two names that shaped the fate of the ancient world: Scipio Africanus and Hannibal Barca. For 17 years, their empires clashed across the world, and now, on this African plain, destiny would demand its price. Zama. The end of one war, the beginning of another kind, the War of Legacies. Two legends, one battlefield. Only one would leave Zama a name for the ages. For 17 years, Hannibal Barca had been Rome's shadow, the ghost they could never catch, the fire they could never extinguish. But time is the only enemy no man can outmaneuver. After years of victory, his homeland, Carthage, called him back. Scipio had landed in Africa, burning through its allies, forcing Carthage to summon the one man who could still stand against him. In Rome, Publius Cornelius Scipio, young, brilliant, and unyielding, had studied Hannibal's every move. He had faced his teachers in Spain, and now he would face the master himself. Two worlds marched toward each other, one forged in experience, the other in ambition. The sands of Zama would not just decide a war, they would decide who ruled the future. Both men knew there would be no second meeting. The plain of Zama, wide, open, unforgiving. Here, on this empty sea of dust, the fate of empires was about to be decided. Hannibal's army, 20,000 infantry, 4,000 cavalry, and over 80 war elephants, towering beasts ready to crush Rome beneath their feet. At their head stood the veterans of Cannae, men who had seen the Tiber run red and lived to remember. Across the field, the Roman legions of Scipio Africanus, 30,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, organized with precision, their lines perfect, their silence more powerful than any war cry. For a long moment, no one moved. Two generals, two geniuses, watching each other, each searching for the first weakness, each knowing this would be their final gamble. When the first horn sounded, Africa would tremble. The silence shattered. "80 beasts, armored in bronze and rage, thundered toward the Roman line. The earth itself seemed to break beneath their feet. To break the Roman formation, Hannibal unleashed terror itself. No wall of men could stop a beast of war. But Scipio, he had studied Hannibal's art and mastered it. In the space between fear and order, genius lives. Scipio's legions opened their ranks, creating corridors, paths through which the monsters could pass harmlessly. What Hannibal sent to destroy became his undoing. The elephants turned the field into chaos, but not for Rome. The beasts had fallen, but the men were yet to clash. With the beasts gone, the men took their place. Hannibal's front line, Libyan mercenaries, Iberians, Gauls, marched forward in a wave of steel and dust. Behind them stood his veterans from Italy, the ghosts of Cannae, undefeated, unbroken. Scipio met them with precision. Manipular legions, flexible, disciplined, their training sharper than any sword. Every inch of ground was bought with blood. The first Carthaginian line faltered. The second surged forward to meet the Romans head-on. And behind them, waiting, silent, Hannibal's veterans. These were the men who had shattered Rome at Cannae, warriors who had seen entire legions die beneath their blades. Now they stood face to face with the only Roman bold enough to challenge their master. Veteran met veteran, shield met shield, genius met genius. For a moment, the world stood still. Neither Rome nor Carthage seemed to yield. Until thunder came, not from the sky, but from behind. Scipio's plan was complete. His cavalry, led by Laelius and Massinissa, swept around the battlefield, crashing into Hannibal's rear. The hammer met the anvil. Surrounded, outnumbered, trapped, the veterans of Cannae made their final stand. No retreat, no mercy, only the roar of death.
Comrades aid.
By the day's end, Carthage was broken. Nearly 20,000 men lay dead, another 15,000 captured. Rome had bled, but Carthage had been gutted. For 17 years, Hannibal had defied Rome, but at Zama, he met a man who understood him, and that was his undoing. The line of Carthage had fallen, and Rome at last roared over the ashes. The sun set over Zama, and with it, an age of Carthaginian glory. The Second Punic War was over. Rome had endured its darkest trial and risen as the master of the world. Scipio was hailed as Africanus, the savior of Rome, the man who tamed the terror of Hannibal. He had studied his enemy, respected him, and in doing so, surpassed him. And Hannibal, the warrior who had crossed mountains and crushed legions, now faced the one enemy he could not defeat: time. He would wander in exile, a legend in life, a warning in death. At Zama, one empire ended, another began. Rome would rise to rule the world, but the shadow of Hannibal would follow it forever. History remembers the victors, but it is shaped by those who dared to fight them. This was the Battle of Zama.
Subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.